Hello students, let us learn about basic concepts of objects and classes. Object-oriented programming (OOP) concepts were introduced in the late 1950s and early 1960s in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, United States. The use of OOP concepts made programming simpler by dividing the program into number of objects and also enabled the program to mimic the real world. In the mid-1980s, OOP became one of the most influential developments in programming. It attained the level of the most dominant programming methodology in the early and mid-1990s and became widely accepted due to the rising popularity of graphical user interface, which depend upon object-oriented programming techniques. However, nowadays a large number of object-oriented languages like C++, Perl, Python, Ruby are available. In object-oriented programming, an object is the fundamental element of interest. Consequently, the question arises, what is an object? Before moving forward, let us first discuss about object. If you look around and observe your surroundings, you will find many examples of real-world objects. Example: a pen, book, chair, table, car, mobile phone, bicycle, dog, your friend, or even yourself. In the real world, all of us interact with objects throughout our lives. Anything concrete, visible, or in the abstract form. Example: your email ID, bank account, which we can see, experience, or feel is an object. The next question crops up that if everything we see, feel, or experience is an object, then why one object differs from another? To answer this question, first we have to understand two important aspects about every object, that is, state and behavior. Definition: an object is an entity that has state, behavior, and a unique identity. State: all the characteristics or attributes that characterize any object define the state of the object. If we take an example of a dog, then its state is defined by attributes like pedigree, name, color, age. On the other hand, if we take example of a car, the attributes that define its state are its brand name, model name, color, size, power, engine, etc. Behavior: all the different functions or capabilities of an object can be defined or understood by its behavior. Let us know more. The properties which define the object are also termed as attributes of the object or characteristics of the object. Students note the fact, object is an instance of a class which contains the data and functions, characteristics and behavior together. Let us understand this through an example. A dog's behavior is understood by its barking, feeling hungry, sleeping, running or fetching an object. Likewise, the behavior of a car is revealed by its speed, changing of gears, applying of brakes, drifting, etc. Okay, let us take a discussion on differentiate between state and behavior. Let us understand the concept of state and behavior with more examples. A pen and a smartphone are objects, but they are completely different in their state and behavior. A pen is used to write, whereas a smartphone has capabilities like play music, call, browse internet, watch movies, click a photograph, send an SMS, etc. Thus, objects can be differentiated from each other in terms of their state and behavior. Even two identical mobile phones can also be differentiated from each other on the basis of their serial numbers, IMEI numbers. Similarly, if we compare two identical cars of the same manufacturer, model, color or power, even they also differ from one another by their registration number. In OOP, programs are built around objects, which allow programmers to create programs in a structured and organized manner. It also provides reusability feature, making programming simpler and productive. Now we will discuss about class. The concept of a class and an object is related to one another. We cannot talk about an object without referring to its class. An object is a real entity, whereas a class is a representation of an object. In simple words, a class is a template or a model based on which objects can be made. Let us understand this through some examples. Consider a housing society that has hundreds of flats identical to each other. The blueprint of the flat with the architectural drawing can be termed as the class, and the individual flats are the objects. Based on that class, the class itself has no physical presence. However, the objects made out of the class are real places where people can live. In OOP, objects are created by defining a class for them. Once a class is defined, we can create as many objects of the class as required. Let us understand this through some examples. A class called apple defines the attributes for each apple, where each apple has its own color, shape, size, and other properties. Whereas object of the apple class would be a specific apple, such as Royal, Delicious, Golden, Granny Smith. Hence, a class is a template which creates objects of similar types that share some common state and behavior. Implementing objects. In OOP, our goal is to implement real-world objects in the form of software objects. Real-world objects have physical characteristics which are defined by their state and behavior. Similarly, software objects also have state and behavior. In OOP, state and behavior of an object is maintained through variables and functions. In other words, an object is a self-contained unit that holds state, attributes or characteristics in variables and exposes its behavior through methods, ways to manipulate the values stored in variables. We can consider an object as a noun, its fields as adjectives that describe noun, its methods as verbs that perform an action on that noun. When a class is created, we have to define two aspects, variables and methods for its objects. The variables are referred to as the data members and functions are referred to as member methods. An object belonging to a particular class is called an instance of that class. The creation of a new object from a class is called instantiation of that class. Let us have a quick quiz. State any 5 characteristics and behavior that the object of a class television can have. Class as an object factory. When you write an object-oriented program, you have to first define all the classes along with their state and behavior, which are determined by variables and functions in the class definition. After defining a class, you have to create objects. All the different entities in an object-oriented program are objects. If the goal of your program is to solve a particular problem which involves a few entities, then to solve the problem, objects should be created for each entity after defining a class. These objects should then be made to interact according to the algorithm. A class is also called an object factory because one can create innumerable objects from one class definition. Let us recall why do we call class an object factory. Let us understand this through an example. A sculptor first creates a mold and then he uses that mold to create similar statues. However, the sculpture may provide different colors to each statue. Similarly, in OOP, once a class is defined, we can create any number of objects from the same class. As one cannot create statues without having a mold, similarly one cannot create objects without defining a class. It proves that a class is an object factory because once we define the functionality in form of functions of a class, then it can be used by all the objects pertaining to that class. Let me tell you how to define a class and creating objects. Suppose we create a class teacher whose characteristics, states, attributes, variables are name and subject and whose behavior is defined by functions like teaching, taking tests and preparing results. We can easily create individual teacher objects from this class definition. This further underlines the fact that a class is an object factory that can generate many objects. Likewise, we can think of more examples which represent the concepts of classes and objects in our day-to-day life. Let us know more. A class is a conceptual description, while an object is the actual instance of a class. Alright students, let us learn about class as a user-defined data type. The most important thing to understand about a class in programming terms is that it defines a new data type. The question arises here is, how can we consider class as a user-defined data type? To understand this, we need to understand what a data type is. In the previous classes, you have been exposed to programming languages and the processes used to write programs. Hence, you must be familiar with the concept of variables. Quick recapitulation. A variable is like a container that can hold data temporarily. Every variable has a name, a size and a specific data type. We have built-in data types like integer, character, float, etc. If we declare a variable of a type integer, it cannot hold character or float values because it is of integer type, so it can only hold integer values. It has a specific behavior like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. that cannot be changed. We have the freedom of creating any number of variables from a single data type. In addition to built-in or predefined data types, most programming languages allow the user to create their own data types called user-defined data types. Once the data types are created, you can create any number of variables of the newly created data type. In object-oriented programming, classes are defined by the users, which contain both data and methods and use them as integrated components. When we create a class, the attributes are represented through data items that can hold values, integer, float, etc. The behavior of the class is represented through methods or functions. Let us take an example. Let us create a class called testadd and specify two integer type variables, data and a function to perform simple addition. Once defined, this class can be used to create objects of the same type with the ability to perform addition on any two integer variables. We can also create more than one object of the same class, store similar data in them, and perform the same set of operations that we have specified in the class. We can therefore conclude that a class is defined by the user, where a user can specify its characteristics or data state and behavior. Once a class is formed, we can create variables of the type of class. These variables are nothing but objects. Hence, a class is referred to as user-defined data type. Now we will talk about abstraction. Abstraction is a very important feature of object-oriented programming. It is used to manage the complexity of a system. By using this property, we can provide only the essential features of an object to the user without including its background details or explanations. Let us take an example of the TV remote control. Let us take an example. To watch TV, you have a remote which has all the important functions required to view a program on TV. The power switch is used to turn a TV on and off. Buttons are used to change channels, volume, brightness, contrast, etc. To change the channels or to increase or decrease the volume, you simply press the remote buttons and never bother to know as to how the requested functions actually work in the background. So the TV remote abstracts all the essential characteristics of the functions of TV. When sending any message to a friend, we simply write the message and press the send button and the message gets delivered to the destination. Here we see abstraction at work, as we are at least concerned with the internal working of a mobile that is responsible for sending and receiving of the message. Thus, an abstraction simplifies the processes by hiding all the complex operations and displays only the essential ones. Let us learn about principles of OOPS. To understand the concept of OOP, we need to first understand the meaning of the following terms: encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. Let us discuss about encapsulation. Encapsulation is a very important principle of object-oriented programming. Every object has two things: state, data, and behavior, functions or methods. We access and manipulate the data of any object using its functions. Encapsulation is the technique of binding both data and the functions together to keep them safe inside a container, class, and to prevent unauthorized access and misuse. Encapsulation ensures that a user cannot access the data directly without using proper functions. It also ensures that a user can use only those functions for which he is granted permission, while other functions remain untouched for which he has not been given any permission. Let us know more. The main benefits of encapsulation is the ability to modify the implemented code without modifying the same code used by other users. With this feature, encapsulation gives maintainability, flexibility, and extensibility to our code. Let us understand encapsulation with the help of an example of the ATM. In this scenario, let us take an example. The most important point to observe is that while using an ATM, we can only access the data that belongs to us. We cannot see the account balance of the other person or change their PIN. This is how we encapsulate or isolate data from a user with the aid of functions. We saw that an ATM user can use those functions that can change the password, show account balance, and withdraw money. He cannot use the functions that can close the account or open a new account, etc. Whereas a bank employee who handles these accounts can easily use these functions to open or close the accounts. Hence, we can say that encapsulation binds data and methods inside a container and ensures that only authorized users have access to use them. Let me tell you about inheritance. The word heredity refers to the process of inheriting certain characteristics from your parents or ancestors. Inheritance is a property in which a new class acquires the properties of an existing class. This property brings the concept of object-oriented programming a step closer to our life, as it reflects the real-life concept of heredity in programming, where characteristics are transferred from the parents to their children. Similarly, new classes can inherit the characteristics of an existing class. A class that is derived from an existing class is called a subclass or derived class, whereas the class from which a subclass is derived is called a superclass or base class. A subclass can have only one superclass, whereas a superclass may have one or more subclasses. The common feature of all the classes have to be defined only once in the base class. The subclasses get the functionality of their base class automatically. Inheritance allows the reusability of code. This is a very important feature of object-oriented programming. Reusability is the process of using existing code for a new programming scenario by adding some new features and capabilities to that code without modifying its content. In this manner, we should have to write a new code only for very selective features in the subclass. Let us know more. The class whose properties are inherited is called base class or superclass or parent class, and the class that inherits the properties is known as derived class or subclass or child class. Let us know more. Inheritance is implemented through the keywords extends and implements. Let us take an example. If we consider an employee as a superclass that has the properties common to all the employees like employee name, department, joining date, department name, etc. From this class, we can create subclasses for salaried, commissioned, and hourly rate-based employees. Similarly, a scientific calculator is an extended form of a calculator. Hence, calculator is the parent class and the scientific calculator is the child class. Okay, students, know that in Java only single inheritance is allowed. That is, a subclass cannot have more than one base class. However, in C++, multiple inheritance is allowed, where there can be more than one base class for a subclass. Now let me tell you about polymorphism. If we bifurcate the word polymorphism, we get two words. Poly means many and morphism means form. Thus, polymorphism means more than one form. It provides a way for an entity to behave in several forms. Let us take an example of milk. Milk is a single entity, but it can be consumed in different forms, such as curd, cheese, buttermilk, cream, ice cream, etc. Polymorphism means one interface and many methods. It allows functions to behave differently for different objects. It is the ability to use the same name for more than one task that may be technically related. Polymorphism is what allows functions to act differently based on the objects performing the actions. It is the ability to use the same method name for more than one task. This property has a great significance as it facilitates a very important feature in programming, that is, function overloading. We will cover this concept in the functions chapter. Let us understand with the given example. The function area is used to represent the area of a rectangle, a triangle, or a circle. You will observe that the word area is one function, but it is associated with three different aspects, that is, a rectangle, a triangle, or a circle. The main advantage of polymorphism is that you can focus more on doing the work rather than remembering the names of different functions. Hence, it reduces complexity. See another example. Different animals create different sounds, but they all have the common functions to communicate, that is speech. Your mobile phone too has polymorphic ability, that is, one name but many functions. Making calls or sending SMS, camera, alarm clock, MP3 player, FM radio, navigation and internet. Similarly, in OOP, polymorphism is a feature that allows a function to behave differently for different objects. For example, if we take the case of a bank interest function and we have two types of people, that is, ordinary citizen and senior citizen. If the ordinary citizen calls the bank interest function, he gets one value. If the senior citizen calls the bank interest function, he will get a different value. This is the polymorphic behavior of the bank interest function. Definition: polymorphism is the ability of an object to take many forms. It is the process of using a function for more than one purpose, which may behave differently for different objects. Okay, let us understand messages between methods or functions. An object-oriented program consists of a set of objects that communicate with each other by sending and receiving information in the same way as people send messages to each other. When an object needs to interact with other objects, it requests for information by using messages. This is known as message passing. A message contains arguments and the name of the method, which is passed to the recipient object in order to invoke one of the recipient's object's method so that the desired result is generated. Let us understand this concept with the help of an example. There are two functions in the software that is installed in an ATM. The AB function displays the account balance and the PSWD, that is password function, validates the PIN of an ATM card. Whenever a user requests for the account balance, the AB function will first call the PSWD function to validate the entered PIN. The PSWD function validates the PIN and sends the result to the AB function that had sent the request. The AB function will then send the output to the user depending upon the result he received from the PSWD function. In this real-life example, we see that the functions within the program communicate with each other using messages. In the above-mentioned process, only necessary details are returned back to the calling object. It focuses on the features of data hiding and ensures security. Alright, let us discuss about applications of OOP. Nowadays, OOP is one of the most important tools of programming. A good software engineer always uses the OOP approach. Applications of OOP are gaining importance in many areas such as real-time systems, artificial intelligence and expert systems, neural networks and parallel programming, simulation and modeling, computer animation, developing computer games, object-oriented databases, CAD or CAM systems, office automation systems. Now we will talk about benefits of object-oriented programming, OOP. OOP is a programming approach which offers a number of benefits. Software complexity can easily be managed as it models real-world objects. You can easily modify and maintain complexity of a program. Data hiding can be used to create secure programs. Classes can be reused for creating other classes through inheritance. It is easy to partition the work in a project based on objects. Communication via message passing between objects makes the interface with the external system easier. Students, if you want to know more about OOPs, visit the site http://mydotsafariBooks.online.com/programming/java/9788131733110/oops/h1.5. Now let us go through the points at glance of this chapter. Object-oriented programming OOP concepts were introduced in the late 1950s and the early 1960s in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, United States. An object is an entity that has state, behavior, and a unique identity. A class is a template which creates objects of a similar types that share common state and behavior. In OOP, state and behavior of an object is represented through variables and functions. A class is also called an object factory because one can create innumerable objects from one class definition. A class is also referred to as a user-defined data type. An abstraction hides all the complex operations and provides only the essential features of an object to the user without including its background details or explanations. Encapsulation is the technique of binding both data and the functions together to keep them safe inside a container, class, and to prevent unauthorized access and misuse. Inheritance is a property in which a new class acquires the properties of an existing class. It allows the reusability of the code. Reusability is the process of using existing code for a new programming scenario by adding some new features and capabilities to that code without modifying its content. Polymorphism is the ability of an object to take many forms. It allows functions to behave differently for different objects. When an object needs to interact with other objects, it requests for information by using messages. This is known as message passing.